Ed Gein. Ed Gein had a troubled upbringing in a remote area of Wisconsin. He suffered abuse at the hands of his alcoholic father, and his mother's strict and puritanical nature instilled a pathological fear of women and sex in him. After his father, brother, and mother passed away within a short span of time, he was left alone on the family farm, where he eventually partitioned off sections of the house to create a shrine dedicated to his mother. Years later, local authorities arrived at the farm after receiving a tip about the disappearance of a hardware store owner by the name of Ernest Warden. They discovered Warden's decapitated body hanging upside down from the ceiling. Their search of the property uncovered a grisly scene, with human body parts repurposed into furniture like chairs and bowls, faces utilized as wall decorations, and a vest made from a human torso. While some of these items were sourced from previously deceased bodies that the individual had exhumed, he had also murdered another woman in addition to Warden. He claimed that he was collecting the body parts to construct a new version of his beloved mother. The individual, Ed Gein, was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found to be mentally unfit for trial. He was later convicted of one murder, but declared insane at the time of the crime. He spent the remainder of his life in a mental institution. Belle Gunness. Belle Gunness, known as Lady Bluebeard, was a Norwegian immigrant who settled in Chicago in 1881. She married a fellow Norwegian immigrant, and together they ran a candy store. However, the store mysteriously burned down in 1900, and Belle's husband died under suspicious circumstances. Belle was able to collect multiple insurance policy payouts, which allowed her to purchase a farm in LaPorte, Indiana. Soon after moving to Indiana, Belle remarried, but just 8 months later, her second husband died. Belle claimed that he had received a fatal burn from scalding water and had been hit on the head by a heavy meat grinder. Although an inquest was held, no proof of foul play could be produced, leading to another hefty insurance payout. After her second husband's death, Belle began placing newspaper advertisements in search of her third husband. She required potential suitors to visit her Indiana farm, and several did. However, these men would disappear, with the exception of one who claimed he woke up to see a sinister-looking Belle standing over him. No one knows for certain how many people Belle Gunness murdered, but it is believed to be more than a dozen. In February 1908, a fire devastated the farm, and the bodies of Belle's remaining children and a decapitated woman's body were found. Officials identified the remains as Belle's, but doubts arose as the body was much smaller than the tall, heavy-set Belle. The search for her missing head, which never turned up, led to the discovery of almost a dozen bodies, including the missing suitors and several children. A former farmhand named Ray Lamphere was arrested and tried for the crimes, but he was only convicted of arson. Belle's true fate remains unknown, as her body was identified, but her head was missing, and unverified sightings of her continued for decades after her death. The story of Belle Gunness continues to fascinate and intrigue people to this day. H.H. Holmes. H.H. Holmes was an insurance scammer who later built a three-story inn in Chicago in advance of the 1893 World's Fair. He secretly turned it into a torture chamber with hidden peepholes, gas lines, trapdoors, and secret passages that led to dead ends. In his basement, he had a surgical table, a furnace, and even a medieval rack. Holmes lured mostly young women to his lair, where he would asphyxiate them with poison gas and perform horrific experiments on them. He disposed their bodies in his furnace or sold their skeletons to medical school. Holmes was also involved in insurance scams, collecting money from life insurance companies. He was caught when a co-conspirator tipped off the police after Holmes failed to deliver his payout. He was eventually convicted of the murders of 4 people, but he confessed to at least 27 more killings before being hanged in 1896. After the hotel of H.H. Holmes was uncovered, strange deaths took place. The man who notified the police initially of Holmes' illegal dealings was shot by a Chicago police officer. The prison warden where Holmes was held took his own life. The office of the district attorney who argued the famous case caught fire. Patrick Quinlan, who knew a lot about the haunted building as a former caretaker after Holmes, died by suicide in 1914 and left a brief note saying, "I could not sleep."